Hey, vlog semi-update review. Went to the doctor the other day because haven't been feeling too good. I was at work last night and wasn't really feeling too good and left early and went to the doctor. Found out that it's not a cold. It's not a cold. I have influenza. So, but like I got medication, I got prescriptions, and so I'm taking all that. So, yeah. So anyway, this is kind of going to be a quick little vlog review of Rogue One. I wanted to do this after I saw it, but a lot of things happened, and mostly I'm just kind of annoyed about how there are a couple of reviews, like one in particular from RedLetterMedia, who I like, but God, like a lot of their stuff is just really starting to just kind of irritate me now. How they can be so cynical at times with their opinion, and then how they, will treat their friends and people who may disagree with them at times like that, where it's like, hey, let's make a 15-minute video where we're just gonna be smartasses. And for me, it's just like, dude, just go fuck yourself. I mean, I like you, but goddamn, sometimes you do shit that just really pisses me off. And so, it's not really a well, yeah, I mean, it is a reaction to that, but it's me kind of giving my thoughts on Rogue One. What did I think of Rogue One? I think it's a perfectly good movie. It's got its flaws, for sure. It's not perfect. It's not an overly amazing movie. I did like Episode 7 a lot more than I liked Rogue One. What are problems with Rogue One? Characters, for one thing. They are not as memorable, as a character like Rey or Finn, and I'm already forgetting his name. Shit. I'm trying to remember the name of the pilot from Episode 7, but I suddenly just drew a blank. But can I remember, other than Kay, the robot, can I remember any other character's name from Rogue One right off the top of my head right now? No. I can't, and I enjoyed that movie, Other things, I didn't realize at first the Grand Moff Tarkin, effect was an effect at first, and once I did realize, I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, it's fine. I've seen worse effects. I've seen worse fucking digital effects. This was fine. I just get so sick and tired of, oh, it was so distracting! Oh my god, it was so horrible! It was fine. Shut the fuck up. I've seen worse. It was fine. The worst effect that I can think of, and I was going over this in my head, and I'm gonna edit this, so. That's the worst. Worst example of a bad effect that hasn't aged well, because that was part of the argument that they were having about the Grand Moff Tarkin effect, was that, like, is that still gonna look good in 10 years? Forrest Gump has many effects like that, where the worst example is when Forrest Gump is on that TV talk show, and there's John Lennon there, and it's when, I remember, like, I saw this maybe like a couple of years ago on TV, and it was that same scene, and I just remember, like, it was all in how his lips were moving, how, the lips would move, but they kind of, like the mouth would shift around on the person's face, as they were talking, as if it wasn't mapped properly, and that shit was distracting. That was really fucking distracting, and, and I'm sure for the time it looked good, but now it looks like a bad effect, is how it looks. A few things that they did mention that I will agree on. Donnie Yen's character, how, it's a story that's meant to be a war story, but then you get, this really badass kung fu blind character who may or may not be a Jedi, but he seems to be kind of in tune with the Force, which I did enjoy, but I will admit, yeah, his character kind of feels pointless, especially when, his whole cool kung fu thing that he does with the stick, he only has one scene where he does that. The rest of the movie, he never does that again. He does have a gun, though, so so at least he is doing other things. But yeah, it would have been nice to see him do that more. What else? Oh yeah, they kind of harped on the James Earl Jones thing about how the Darth Vader costume looks stupid, like it looks like a cheap Halloween costume. It looks fucking fine. It looks like Darth Vader. And how one of them said that James Earl Jones sounds old. It's 2017. Of course he sounds old. I mean, I don't personally know how old James Earl Jones is, but I know he's getting up there. And it sounded fine. It sounded just fine. And I remember somebody from Double Toasted who, you know, one of the, you know, one of their resident trolls who I know they bring on to the show every once in a while, you know, just went off about how, like, oh, I hated this movie. I think it's the worst Star Wars movie I've ever seen, because he fucking hates everything, because of course he does. How he brought up, you know, how at the ending when Darth Vader shows up and is, you know, slashing the hell out of soldiers and force choking people and throwing them around, and he says, like, oh, well, like, when in context with, like, at the beginning of episode 4, it's not going to make any sense. Who cares? I don't care. I've seen episode 4, and I don't care. I'm able to say, like, they wanted to do something cool with Darth Vader. So, yeah. And who gives a shit? Overall, and, you know, and like the whole thing about, you know, the characters not having that much character. I mean, it's there, but they don't really have depth. Is actually a good complaint. Because, I mean, at least during the last scenes of the movie, you know, when, spoiler, you know, if you don't know this already, as they all start dying, you know, I did care, I mean, especially when Donnie Yen's character and then his friend die, you know, because there's obviously this huge emotional connection. I, you know, was kind of confused, though, as to, like, what was their story? Like, what, like, were they friends? Were they brothers? Or was it just that Donnie Yen's character, I mean, I don't like, you know, that I can't remember his character's name, but, you know, they probably say each other's characters' names at least a couple of times in the movie, but, you know, right off the top of my head, can I remember him? Sorry, no. You know, like when, hell, I mean, like when Donnie Yen's character dies, it actually makes his friend actually start to kind of believe in the Force and do the same chant or prayer that Donnie Yen's character, you know, starts doing as he goes off and continues trying to fight until he dies. You know. Overall, do I think it's an awful movie? No. Do I think it's an overly amazing movie? No. Do I think it's a perfectly good movie that you should go see in the theater for yourself, or buy, or rent? Yeah, I plan on buying this when it comes out. Would I like to actually see them do something drastically different with Star Wars? If they want to be that ballsy, yeah, go for it. The problem, though, these days, I mean, as much as a lot of us complain about how there's nothing new, and there really isn't. Everything is either a remake, a sequel, and maybe every once in a while there's something new, but it's not really new, because it's usually something that's based off of a book, or based off of a comic book, or just whatever. There's really not a whole lot of new material that's generated, and the problem with that, and the reason, and I understand why, it's that the reason why there are not a lot of movie makers or anything that are doing anything that's wholly original is because they're probably not going to make any money. You know, they're going to put probably a couple of $1 million into a project that nobody's ever heard of and try and advertise it, and they'll be lucky if they break even. And that's kind of the problem. So yeah, so that sucks. Would I like to see Star Wars, Disney do something like drastically new? Yeah, Disney probably wouldn't do it, though, because they probably wouldn't see any profit in it. I mean, I think Rogue One was pretty much a success. I would like to see them continue doing other stories in the Star Wars universe. I would like to see a better rendition of the Clone Wars. Hell, I'd like to see a story about a younger Darth Vader hunting down the other Jedi Knights. I would like to see that. Maybe we could get a Mandalorian War movie out of it. Hell, you know, like, these are all ideas I would love to see. Of course, I don't know, you know, what the hell they're doing next, so who knows. I was actually ranting earlier to myself about you know, the whole remake thing, and and of course you know the whole thing about Ghostbusters came up, and you know, and I was rethinking, you know, back to my original review, which I do still stand by. I do still think that it's an average movie that's only just a rental. The big stigma, though, that it has about it is that it's a remake. And, well, there's just a good majority of remakes, especially from the last 10 fucking years, that a good majority of them have been regurgitated garbage. Where they're not trying anything new, they're just trying to cash in, and that was what, you know, and that was what the biggest problem about the Ghostbusters remake was that it was a cash-in and a remake. So, two things I did not give a shit about, and just rolled my eyes at and go, of course they're doing a Ghostbusters remake, because that's the big fad to do. I don't know, I mean, I'm taking a few days off from work, you know, because I've been so sick, and because that's what the doctors told me to do, and that's what my boss is inclined to do right now, is to keep me away from their elderly citizens who I work with and see on occasion, which... oh god. Thoroughly understandable, of course. I don't know if I will record anything else, because when I do start talking for long periods, I do start to feel worse in my head, especially. You know, because it's always so fun when you cough so hard that it feels like that your brain just smacks against your skull. That's always a wonderful feeling, and my throat's starting to bother me. Anyway, you know, let me know, you know, what you guys think. Did you guys like Rogue One? Did you not? Are you gonna nitpick the shit out of it too, and then call those, you know, your critique? Nitpicking is not a critique. You're not a critic. Fuck off. It is so stupid. And I'm just gonna nitpick and bitch and not actually, you know, give any real criticism to a movie. You know, because I'm a jackass. Hey, I'm gonna do a 2-hour review about one movie, cause, you know, cause I didn't like it. My head is so firmly up my own ass. I hate that shit. I mean, I used to love your RedLetterMedia. You know, your Plinkett reviews, you know, for Star Trek and Star Wars, you know, and Indiana Jones, I thought were absolutely brilliant. Now you're just being a fucking asshat, and it's really irritating. It makes it really hard for me to watch you or even agree with your opinions a lot of the time when you start acting like that. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'll stop ranting. See ya.